Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Orange and Brew Podcast. I am one of your hosts today, Dr. Nicholas Manning. That's right, Doctor. You can find me on Twitter at dr_n_Manning. I am joined by the awesome, fabulous, fantastic John Cronenberg. You can find him on Twitter at JohnKNFL. Go follow the podcast everywhere at orange_and_brew. Got a lot to talk about. My goodness gracious, it is definitely a fast-paced news cycle for the Denver Broncos. But before we do that, we do got to check in. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing well. I got a little sunburnt when we went out actually to camp. It was very interesting because I kept my arms a certain way. So it was only one side and my fingers I kind of had crossed. So I have it like half my fingers are bright red and peeling and the other ones are just bright white and cream and just looking very white and pale. So you know how it is. But next time I'll learn that it's there's going to be no clouds and just have to get used to that.
Yeah, true.
It was a hot one. How are you doing?
I'm good. I don't remember going to a training camp and having it be cold.
Yeah, I mean the only time it was when I was younger, and then like when you're a kid.
Yeah,
I mean you're burning through energy. Like I don't know, maybe heat doesn't bother you as much. I don't know, but for me, that was the only time.
Yeah, I don't. Every time that I don't think I ever went as a kid. I didn't go to because they had training camp.
Crush.
So way back when training camp was in Greeley, I wasn't driving up there. I did go up there in college, so got to watch good old Brian Greasy and crew. Got to eat right next to Al Wilson's table because they would come into the same places that we would go to. That's how dated I am. Good times, but I'm good. Really busy. My daughter turned 9, so her birthday was Monday, so that was awesome. And then
now is that big? Oh, we got Mohammed Badri coming in here. Hey, it's been a long time. Hey, Mohammed, great to see you. Just want to say hello. Thank you so much. It's been really a long time. We need to connect more. And we got Gage in here is also saying, good afternoon, John and Doc. Thank you, Gage. Great to see you. Sorry for interrupting you. Keep going there.
Just good family time. Made it through camping.
Yes.
Again, so multi camping trips back to back. So I'm done with that. I love Colorado, but I'm done with
the outdoors for a little bit.
Yeah. And
now let me ask you a question. 9 years old. How does that feel for you personally? Like, is that a mark that, it's a big thing, or it's like when you hit double digit, is it going to set in that all of a sudden she's not your baby little girl anymore? Kind of that kind of thing.
No, she hasn't been the little one in a while. She grew up.
She's the big girl who kind of like,
she's matured quite a bit in personality and all that kind of stuff. So it's getting there though. Yeah. I mean, they need you a lot less, so you start to get it. Good news is I was irresponsible and had 2 more kids. That's not true. It's same lady. We're married. It's
right.
So no, but it's they all went with me to practice the next day. So we went on Wednesday. So that was a good time. All of them got to go.
Nice.
Got to see some more Denver Broncos training camp. And I know our first topic is the sky's falling.
Yeah.
So Russ Wilson has struggled intermittently at training camp through interception to Justin Simmons on Wednesday, and then 2 again on Thursday. And I think Damari Mathis also got one, if I do recall correctly.
Yeah.
So some concern because of I think the lack of crispness when it comes to the offense, as well as turnover-worthy plays, which was never, really good, Russ. That was not what he did. Yeah, he was a guy that was always minimal interceptions guy. Rarely fumbled for a smaller stature guy.
Yeah.
Hands are huge, so he wasn't really a guy that would fumble very much. So where do you sit, John? Where do you sit on the concern for Russell Wilson? And the train link that is connected to the Broncos season.
Yeah, when it comes to a lot of these interceptions thrown in training camp, a lot of the times I have to want to look at I'm not able to, but I would love to look at the film and also know, hey, you can't have wasted reps also in camp. So it's one of those things where sometimes you just got to throw the ball up, and give your guys a chance to make a play and see what happens. Otherwise, you're just wasting an entire play there, an entire snap, and you're just essentially taking the sack. So I'd rather see Russell Wilson throw the ball up, actually attempt to connect with his receivers, try to see where they're at. If there is that kind of coverage, if they're down late in the game, something like that, where they need to fit in a pass on fourth down, and it is that kind of need. But otherwise, it's not a big deal to me. This is so early on that they're just trying to get to connect with each other. They've been apart for a while. For me, that is the biggest thing. I just don't see it being a big deal. What about yourself?
I thought you were going to take it the other way.
I mean, look, so here's the one thing. I am still worried about Russell Wilson in some regards, though. Look, we can't just say that, because Sean Payton's here, we're going to give him a free pass. He's going to all of a sudden completely turn it around with a new offensive system. Like, we still need to see it actually come to light. I just am not a person who does it, blames it specifically on passes in camp. I want to see it during preseason, during the season. That's when I really start to care about it. But again, this is just small indicators that maybe that you're going to see some balls sail. We've heard that balls have been sailing on him. So there is some concern there with the balls sailing. And again, the interceptions, like you said, last year he had a lot of turnovers. It also came down to fumbles as well. You hate to see that. And, again, the offensive line is still letting that defensive line kind of leak through there. So, again, you would hate to see him having to move around and maybe have the ball hit out of his hands. So, for me, there is some concerns with Russell Wilson. It's just a matter of I'm not at, level 10, we have to worry right there. I just understand that he has to perform, or else I expect the Broncos to make a shift at the end of this year. So for me, this is do or die for him, and in that sense.
Yeah, and he's definitely a guy that knows it. He's not dumb. I think he understands what is at stake. I'm not worried. Like I said, we said this before training camp. My take was the bad plays mean less than the good plays. And by that, I mean, there are concepts that get drawn up, especially early in camp, to identify what can this team do well and what can't, what might be a staple, what might not be, and identifying what are going to be the issues. Did we see the right thing at the right time? How did we play it when we got this look, right? It's less scripted. It is often tasked with, it's the coaches are tasked with stressing each other. So, you're not getting a look maybe that you would expect, or any look at all that you would get in a normal play. You set up this way. Ideally, you're going to get this kind of look on defense, but the team doesn't shift to that because they're, the Broncos defense is going vanilla because they're just trying to work on their checks and that kind of stuff. So that's why I think some of it's less, right? Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions in training camp too. The idea being in practice, I want to see what I can do. So when the game comes, I know whether or not I can make that throw there.
Yeah.
So those worry me less than the good plays. So the good plays, are more impactful because I think it provides you with data on what can you do over and over again, right? What can we recreate? The play action game for Russ will be huge. And when they're able to do it and he's able to get depth, I think it makes it a little easier to be able to throw over the middle than quick drops or that kind of thing. So I saw that. I thought that was a positive. I would also say, there were a couple really deep connections that were there. Excuse me. Some of them were overthrown. But the timing, in my opinion, won't be there with the offense. The defense is always going to be faster than an offense, especially when the systems are new.
Yeah.
So, they're not running the T, going back old school I where things are fairly simple and most kids most people my age anyway, ran that, in school. So the issue that I'll have will be the lack of progression. So I've watched him make plenty of checkdowns, plenty of smart throws. You also have to understand that Justin Simmons is the best safety in football.
Yes.
So it's not like he's throwing it against,
it's not the number twos. It's not the number threes. He's playing. It's number ones versus number ones.
And right. And so he's made some really good throws on Pat Surtain. Does that mean Pat Surtain's going to be a bust? I mean, PS2 is going to be terrible because Cortland Sutton, on back-to-back days really got him pushed deep and made some pretty big snags with Russell, throwing the ball there. So I don't, the part of it is like you're going to get beat. Justin Simmons, again, barring anything ridiculous, is going to be an all-pro, right? Sometimes that guy's just good at football.
He's going to see things. Yeah.
Yep.
He's
and especially
it.
when that looks vanilla and he doesn't have a responsibility. So maybe some of that's on Sean Payton. We didn't have anything in this formation to pull Simmons away, right? So we let him lurk. And then if we do that, your 5'11" quarterback's not going to be able to see the safety across the field in the middle, right? Like, so how do we scheme that up better so that throws there and the safety's gone? So those are some of the things, some of the data points that I think they're collecting. That's why I'm not worried about it. If they're doing that in 2 weeks, right? Like you said, and maybe that was a little bit before we chatted, that if you're making the same mistake over and over, that's when there's a problem. So yeah, great.
I mean, that's what it feels like, at least, Graham. I mean, it does feel like that.
The point of that is we're a little traumatized.
Yeah, from last year.
We have not seen good quarterbacking since late 2014.
It's been a while.
I'm not really sure how to be able to say it, but it's been a while. And then when you're promised or you think you're going to get back to the mountaintop, right, with an elite level talent like Russell Wilson, and it goes to shambles, fool me once. Broncos country is not dumb. Yeah. So we'll see. So I think some of the interesting things to be able to look at is Russ is thinner. I know that we've talked about it before. By thinner, that's the wrong term. He is slimmer, and I think that plays more to his strengths, right? Yeah. So he's not thin by any stretch of the imagination.
But no quarterback should be thin. Like I've said this before, I think.
No,
if you are thin and then you take a body shot, you are done. You cannot handle that in the NFL with, whatever the lower percent body fat you can really get, 8%, let's say. Like you need to be able to sustain some of those hits and be able to get up.
Yeah, I mean, body fat helps with with being able to keep energy, and the less you get, the more exhausted you're going to feel. It's just, there's biomechanics stuff going on in there. But Russ last year bulked up because he wanted to be able to fit into the mold of a quarterback who could take shots in the pocket.
Yeah.
That wasn't his game. The report is he kind of got away from that towards the end of the year last year, before the end of the year. And you saw that, right? You saw him being able to make more plays with his feet. That's just what Russ is going to be able to do. He's been doing that in camp, which is a really good sign for the Broncos, because that is the best version of Russell Wilson. It's being able to pound the rock, have them commit up. You're able to take advantage of his deep ball accuracy versus, making him be a short to intermediate thrower. That's not really where he's good at. Yeah. And not every Hall of Fame quarterback had the same skill set. Right. So, John Elway was not a great underneath thrower in the day. Why is that? Because that wasn't the thing that he did. That wasn't
right.
His best skill set.
I mean, who could take that kind of pass like within 5 yards? He would just gun it at you.
Yeah, he was not. Yep. Early on,
those are the ones that like
he did not have a changeup. It was
he had the Mario kind of mechanics of throwing, like, hey, 3 yards away, boom, getting hit in the face.
He was trying to catch you in the dome.
Let's get a few comments here, though, real quick. I want to get to. Let's get to Orange Crush here. Personally, I'm not concerned about the offense yet. Still 30 days until week 1 of the regular season. Preseason, specifically week 2, will be the biggest test. I agree. For Russell Wilson, they do have 30 plus days to get this timing right, to get the offensive line working as 5 as 1. Really develop that kind of mentality again with the tight ends as well. So for me, I feel very similar to that. And again, week 2 is going to be that big test for preseason, because that's when Javonte Williams is going to play, I believe. I don't think he's going to suit up in preseason week 1, or at least get any significant play time. So obviously week 2 is the testing time for everyone. And I assume the third week is just kind of minor changes to see who makes the team on the practice squad and things along those lines. So I really agree with you, Crush. And we'll get to your beer, by the way, next week, just because we need all of us here. We have to have the whole team. So can't wait to get to that. We got Mohammed Badri coming in here. It's been way too long, like I said, with Mohammed. And he says, I think we're going to rely heavily on the running game until the offense starts clicking, or starts, going, he says here. And really, I agree. I think that this is going to be an offense that's ran through heavy personnel. We've talked about it many times, 22 personnel, 12 personnel, whatever it may be. That's how Russell Wilson is going to get his impactful plays, be able to take those deep shots and get those one-on-one coverages that may not have been there anymore because Tim Patrick isn't on the field anymore, let's say. Those kind of things that are going on. So really appreciate that, Mohammed, and also 100% agree. I think you do too. Am I right, Doc?
Yeah, that's what Sean Payton did for a long time, and I think that's what fits best right now, especially with the injury to Tim Patrick, is the ability to be able to sustain drives with the run game. It allows you to be more diverse, right? It allows you to be able to dictate down and distance situations when you're able to run the ball. It also sets an attitude, right? We have looked for this offense to have a personality, to have an identity for a long time. Running the football is an identity, that is for sure. And so
I would love that identity, to be honest. Like, doesn't it fit the team? Like Garrett Bowles, you feel like, when he gets going and gets nasty and gets angry, that's kind of his style. Obviously, it just feels like that way across the board with the offensive line. I want them, again, 5 as 1 is going to be my mantra for the rest of this season. And if they can do that, that run game is going to be going strong and powerful. And then just add in some of the tight ends. Real excited to see what Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine can do, and that third dark horse who I think we all have an inkling who we want.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm excited. I know we'll talk about that kind of in the next segment. Before we move, let me ask you, John.
Yes.
What maybe going into over the next several weeks, going into the next preseason matchups, what does Russ have to show you for you to feel good about going into the season?
For me, it comes down to I want to see a high completion percentage pass-wise. I also just want to see long, sustained drives, to be honest. I understand we're not going to have many drives to be able to see that, but I don't want to see any more 3-and-outs happen. I'd like to see a first half where hopefully in week 2 of the preseason, where he's able to take the ball down the field from the 25-yard line, let's say, and take it down for a touchdown. I want to see that kind of offense to start to happen, where it's not just based off of big plays. It is small plays that are going to be sustained, wear out the defense, so then in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden the Broncos can then really open up with their run game, and they're gashing the other team, and they're able to get big chunk plays, 6-7 yard run plays at a time. The offensive line is going. So for me, that's what I need to see from Russell Wilson: consistency and sustained drives.
Yeah, I think all of those are fantastic points. With that, is he seeing the right thing at the right time?
Good point. So
if those are happening, then I'll feel good. I think accuracy will come back the more reps you get.
Of course.
The faster you play. So if I see it, it's there, I make that throw, then I can trust my eyes when I do it. Then it's much easier the next time I see it to deliver a really good ball if I'm not hesitating or questioning. And I think that that's probably what's happening quite a bit right now. Am I sure I'm seeing it? Because it's new, right? They're changing your drop steps. When you're releasing it, is it a stand tall? Is it you're going to take a kind of a curl step? Are you rolling? Are you right? All of the stuff that he learned last year in his previous stints is different. So giving some grace there. So is he seeing things the way that they're drawn up? And then 2, is he gun shy? Is he standing in when he needs to stand in? Or is he fleeing too fast? I think right now, probably based on some of what happened last year, probably what's happened to him in a lot of his career is
Seattle has never been a team to write home on that offensive line. I've liked Dwayne Brown in certain points, but he's certain points, and that was a while ago with, I think, the Texans even, I would say. So
he's probably always had like a good left tackle.
Yeah.
And then like a guard. And then like
but the guard can't make an impact because he's surrounded by 2 people that he can't help assist.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things where, again, we're talking about how we want Cush, and we assume he's going to improve because he has other people around him that are going to help him elevate where he's at. And I don't think that he's had that with a lot of his offensive line play. But this year, hey, I'm starting to see some pop. I mean, for me, the biggest thing I think for training camp, what I saw was the offensive line had some pop in them. That was huge for me.
I know.
Again, last year when I saw them practice, I saw them walking around when they were in their individuals, kind of talking. I didn't see anything going on there. When I went for training camp the other day, it was, again, first day of pads. I saw Miners go ahead and he went at Will Sherman and he gave him a pop and he made sure he wanted it to be seen, Miners. And I felt like, Will Sherman, right afterwards, he came back and was like, you know what, if you're going to come at me this hard in the first padded training camp, I'm going to as well. And so I started to hear some thumping, and I love to hear that from the offensive line. It was well needed. I'm so happy to say this.
I know it. I remember.
You know what I'm going to say. Just say it for me then.
No, I concur.
Yes.
It was necessary. And so with that, I think as he gains trust in the guys up front, I think that he'll look more comfortable. Yeah. So he hasn't looked comfortable yet. I also think, a couple days he didn't have his starting tackles in. So obviously McGlinchey was out for some personal reasons, and Bowles got started kind of a day later. So there is that. So I think there's still some gelling to go on with up front. And as that occurs, Russ has to settle. And if he's not, then that's definitely going to be a concern.
Let's get to Crush here real quickly. Talking about the O-line, how has Cush looked in practice when you all were at practice? Cush looked a little bulkier in a video I saw of him a couple days ago. To be honest, I didn't see him being any bulkier. That's something I'll have to look out for personally. But if he bulked up, that's something that I think would benefit him. Again, the big thing for me is I've always wanted to see him to get to that second level, and I think he's going to have an opportunity this year with Powers being able to take over some players. Again, with Miners being able to take over players, that should give Cushenberry the opportunity to make it up to the second level. And I hope by having that additional, looking bulkier, he's going to be able to get to those linebackers and control them instead of being kind of pushed around or something like that. This will be, in a sense, the ability to wash them out.
Yep. Yeah, this probably isn't the best analysis, but he hasn't been an eyesore.
Right. That's a great way of putting it. Like, it's like your long snapper. If you never hear his name, isn't that a great thing? He's doing his job. Yeah. And we haven't heard Cushenberry, anyone say anything about, like, the only thing we've heard about is how has he looked, because we're concerned just based off previous years.
Yep.
And I was there too. I've been there.
Yeah, I think we all have. It was the question a lot of us were having was, why haven't they addressed it? Why haven't they addressed it? So, Forsyth right now is getting run as the 3. And then Kyle Fuller is the 2, I believe. And I think Wattenberg's getting sprinkled in somewhere all over the place. So
yeah, he's getting guard, I saw as well.
Yeah,
a little bit of everywhere.
Cushenberry is the dude. I think it's probably a scenario that if Cushenberry isn't working out or doesn't, they probably got to go outside.
That would be nerve-wracking, just a little bit late, but I think otherwise,
there's still pretty good guys out there. However,
like I said, 5 is 1. You got to get it as soon as possible.
Does. I mean, but he also is right now.
There's no reason to make the switch.
No reason to make a switch. If he continues to do what he's doing, and in my opinion, even if he's average, if he's an average NFL center, that's great.
Now, here's one thing I did want to ask you after I know we're going a little bit long here on the offensive line. Dalton Risner went ahead and was seen, I don't know if it was a workout or he just visited the Minnesota Vikings. There's been some talks about some issues with the depth of the Broncos offensive line. Would you be open to bringing back Risner for the right price? Again, obviously there's, some people that just kind of want to wash away the past and be done with it. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Also in the chat.
Yeah, I like Dalton. That would be great. The problem is the left guard right now, right, is phenomenal.
Solidified.
Ben Powers, yeah, and he's going to be.
I think you were talking about it, like how he makes Garrett Bowles look small, and then like you go down the line, it's like it's like a Russian nesting doll in a sense,
but they're all like extra large ones.
Yeah, it's just like
they're okay. They're big guys. Dalton Risner, in my opinion, does not fit in that group. I think he's more of a zone guy. However, if he came in, could he be a guy that could play center? He did at Kansas State. There'd have to be some position flexibility. I think if you brought Dalton in, it was an opportunity to challenge for a starting job. If I'm Dalton, I'm going to wait till someone gets hurt.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm not opposed to Dalton coming back. Dalton getting in Rippon's face. I think that was a cultural frustration. 4 years of losing. I don't think Dalton Risner is a loser, and I think that.
And I think
and I think that just gets tired. It gets old. So I think there's a lot there, but I am for, a vet coming in. I know that they just brought in, Yasir Durant.
Yes.
So
big dude,
big man, 6'7", 330. So I think that they're doing that. They're addressing some of those issues.
What's going on, Richie?
What's up, brother?
I hope I did that right. I'm trying to do it right.
Rich.
I know I have to get the Canadian way. No, that's not it. I don't have it yet. We'll get there. We will get there, my friend. But yes, I would bring in Risner as well, as, again, if the money is right. I think like you're saying, what happened on the sidelines with Rippon, for me, that's just football, honestly. So I have no issue with that. I have no issue bringing him in. I don't think he's a cancer to the culture or anything like that. So I would love to bring him back. Especially, again, the right price. But again, like you said, go wait for that job. Go wait for someone to get hurt and make it. I think it's the American in me. It doesn't work.
Yeah, we're lazy.
It's the Colorado accent. It's so plain. I just can't change. I can't change. We're just so vanilla, I guess.
That's true.
All right. You ready to talk a little? You ready to make a little bit of a shift here?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's beer time.
Beer time never gets old. Never gets old. Joel, we are going to get to that, Jolie. Great.
Yes, that's a great question. We'll definitely get to that. And I don't have my beers today, unfortunately. Yeah. We were going to bring on one of our friends here, Orange Crush, probably next week when all three of us are here, and then we can add him on so that we can all try the same beer at once. That'll be the first time, and we offer that to anyone. If you have a beer recommendation and then we're able to get it, hey, look, we'll have you on and we'll try it together and maybe we'll talk some football, talk some jokes, and have a good time. So if you're interested in that, let us know.
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
So tell us what you have drinking today, because it's not it's a little different.
It is a little different. So I intermittently, like keto, essentially at helps me really focus on my protein. And to do so, I'll limit my carb, blah, blah, blah. No one cares.
Show them the guns. Show them the guns. Show them the tattoo. Let's do it. Pull it out.
I don't know that we have I think FCC will probably get us. Stupid again. But I got to cut sometimes. And because we didn't have all three of us on here, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. East Coast time, actually. So not even that far away.
Yeah, it is actually.
We don't have all of us on here, so we wanted to wait to share our beer. So I didn't have a new option. So instead of going to old option, I did just get some rum because
hey, that works with me.
Like Jack Sparrow said.
Well, so look, I don't remember my Pirates of the Caribbean films that well. It's been a while.
Really, the only things I remember is
where's the rum kind of thing,
rum and why is all the rum gone?
Yeah, gotcha.
So, but he loved his rum and.
Yeah.
Famous character saved Johnny Depp's career. I'm not going to get into the other stuff with Johnny Depp, but phenomenal. Couldn't have played that character any better, and glad he did. So, huge fan. So nothing special, just a little Bacardi Gold. Hey, you know what it is, Orange Crush. So I'm just gonna have some of this throughout, especially because it has been a really long week. I do have 4-day work weeks, which is phenomenal. We've had a lot going on this week, so I'm just starting a little early. See? Why is all the rum?
Savvy.
Yeah. You savvy? Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And, for me, I'm more of a, if I am to drink, again, I don't drink too much, but when I were to choose it, I would be more of a whiskey versus rum. And again, not, they're same family, basically. Am I correct or am I wrong? So,
yeah. I mean, so bourbon and whiskey, a little bit different than rum. Rum's is distilled a little bit different, but I love both of them. Mm-hmm. I'm even grown to love tequila. Tequila's been... How did
that happen?
No, when you get really good stuff, it teaches you like how good they are. It's like good beer. It's like all that stuff, right? Yeah, whiskey. I am also a whiskey guy.
I've never had a good experience with tequila.
Because you probably drank really crappy tequila.
It was always crappy. I mean, we were.
What I always found
we were 16-year-old kids.
Yeah, then that's not good. Yeah, if you feel comfortable with the price tag, it's probably not good enough. And so what you do is like you make sure like go get one glass of one that's like, boom, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. If you haven't, but I haven't been in there too much. I really want to go back through the Breckenridge distillery. Stranahan's is great for any of you trying to get your whiskey tips. They're phenomenal. It's really educational. Get a whole crap ton, be able to taste. Stranahan's is pretty affordable too, so I really like it. They also educate you a little bit different on the alcoholic molecule, which is really, really cool. So
we got a recommendation. Maybe we have to do some quick little shots here. And
here's my suggestion for tequila. Okay. So if you ever go to Mexico, go to where there's shops, go to little shopping centers, that kind of stuff. They will try and get you to buy things in the shop by offering you free tequila. They offer you really good tequila. You just keep bouncing from like store to store. You can buy stuff if you want, like $5 thing, or you can ask for a second one or additional one. It's phenomenal. And it's so clean. The better the alcohol, the less of the effect later. You know what I'm talking about? So do yourself a favor.
Hey, that's a good hack.
It was phenomenal.
Where did you did you just by doing it through the day, going through the shops, you're like, you know what, this isn't for me. Wait, okay.
We're at Cozumel.
All of a sudden,
we're getting there. There's like 10 people, they're all at their store. Like, hey, come in here. Like, I don't know, we're shopping. They're like, hey, we have tequila. Come try some. Bam. You should them all.
So,
really good stuff.
This is longer beer time than usual. But are you a Guinness guy then? Let me ask you that.
No. I'm not a Guinness guy. I'm not a stout guy. Well, I'll drink it. That doesn't say a lot, though. I will drink a lot of different things. Ooh, Lance, nice. Okay,
Lance, you want to? Or maybe we'll have to. If that's in Colorado, hey, you'll have to come on the show. We'll do a little bit of beer time and maybe talk some Broncos. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. We'll have to find that one out. But I'll do a Guinness.
Yeah.
Do a good old car bomb also. I will, but I it's not one I enjoy.
Got some brown ale and give me one.
Maybe if I did the beard, maybe that's the problem. Well, Lance, you got a date, bro. We'll figure it out.
We'll definitely set it up, man. And we've hit mute by mistake. We've had our beer, so you guys ready to transfer over back into some Broncos time.
Let's do it.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
All right, we are back. Let me remove that banner real quick for beer time. Excuse me, guys. Real quick, want to get back to Jolene's question because that was a real good one, and we were on the topic of the offensive line. So let's go back to Jolene. Love the O-line right now. Curious about how many guys they keep on the 53. I haven't heard I haven't heard much about Forsythe though. Really, what are your thoughts on the amount of players they keep on this line? Really, for at least the 53.
Right.
I think there will be a lot more on the practice squad.
Yeah, my assumption will be right. So you got your starting 5. You got Cam Fleming. So there's your 6. I bet Kyle Fuller is kind of your guard, center, backup. So that is 7. And then really it's kind of you need a developmental tackle, in my opinion. So is that Demontre Jacobs, who is a really athletic, big gentleman? Isaiah Prince, who Ohio State grad, there's some there, or maybe is there a guy that they're going to grab out? So at minimum, they would run 8, and then do you keep Quinn Bailey, who's been, I think has had some good tape. My assumption would be, I don't know how impressed they are with Wattenberg. I don't know. He didn't really stand out, but to be honest, I really wasn't looking for him because it's not a real.
Not easy to see.
So we'll see. I would assume that they'll have 9. I think with the offensive line and injuries, I think you want to be able to make sure you're stacked there. I do think at times last year, if I recall, they kept 10 at different points in time. Just you saw with injuries as it went through, you had a lot of players go down quite a bit. So, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think the number of 8 is pretty good, honestly. I like that number, 8 or 9 around then. It's just one of those things where I think the Broncos are going to want to keep some other positions pretty filled. They're going to want their tight end room to have some options there. And I think they're going to have a lot of the guys that they like kind of be on the practice squad for their offensive line and kind of have that play that game similar with what they're going to do with that third quarterback. Are they going to have them be on the roster or play them on that practice squad game? I think the Broncos are comfortable playing with guys on the practice squad. We saw, that lost Moody last year. Mm-hmm. I think they're willing to take that risk. It's up, that's George Payton and kind of how he runs things. Maybe Sean Payton has a different thing he's looking for, but I do agree that's where I'd be leaning towards. Interested to see where, if Quinn Bailey is that swing guard tackle kind of person. And that's my real takeaway from that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's an astute point. I think the understanding of how they operate, I don't know how Sean Payton has done it, but I do know the offensive line has always been his, that to him is a very important and impactful group. So yeah, maybe they'll do it a little bit differently this year. But, a guy like Wattenberg or even Forsythe, I think that they would take the risk and get them to, and try and get them onto the practice squad.
Yeah,
especially if Forsythe isn't really getting.
If he's not there yet, and years, I don't think anyone's going to take him.
Teams are smart too. They won't showcase guys that they don't want to lose.
Right.
So if you're not really seeing much about Alex Forsythe, there isn't the puppets out there talking him up. That might mean that the team likes him and they're trying to sneak him onto the practice squad. Just I think something to note that could be something moving forward. Something to pay attention to, that's for sure, though. Is he getting a lot of run in preseason? And if not, why is that? And my thought would be that they're really just trying to keep him.
I agree with Rich A. with needing more guys with this attitude and fit the scheme, because I think at this point, really we're seeing some interesting things with the second tier, the second sorry, we're having a little bit of people writing in the chat room that's a little bit funky. The depth is just not there for me right now for this offensive line. I want a guy who I can trust in there. I feel like, yes, Cam Fleming, after last year, to me, he was the best offensive lineman playing on the field. But at the end of the day, he's a year older. There was a reason why, it took a while. He's working on the side, I've seen a few times. So I'm not sure if he's quite there yet physically. And, for me, Fleming is basically the guy I can only trust at this point. So I really would like to see some additional guys brought in. And if not, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I do think it's an opportunity. You can get a guy closer to the start of camp. For instance, Roger Saffold.
It's a good name.
Players like that, I think, that are older, that are willing to be able to come in and be a stopgap guy. Gabe Jackson. Some other players like that. Andrew Norwell just got released a while ago. I think those are guys waiting for starting jobs. Yeah. The closer it gets to the beginning of the season, I think they would be open to
those 1 year deals.
Deals, because it helps again towards their pension, and then 2, it's guaranteed for them if they're on the roster to start the season as a vested veteran. So that to me would make some good sense. I think there were some pretty good names on there. I do not like the interior offensive line depth, but most teams don't have really good interior, offensive line. It has become a wasteland a little bit. It's kind of like starting quarterbacks. There's only so many, and most teams don't have good ones.
Well, I think for me, the big thing is it's a different game in college now. Yeah. So you can't expect those offensive linemen to automatically come on over and understand the new techniques, the new way they're doing things. Like Daniel Falehi, he had a different, basically where he would angle himself with Minnesota. They had their tackles angled differently. That's going to take him a long time to get used to. I know he's not a Bronco, but again, it's just talking about how the college game sets up later for these guards and these offensive tackles to not be quite prepared to make those, to make the jump right away.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And maybe that gives us a little bit more hope for a guy like Wattenberg, who was just kind of outmatched, wasn't strong enough, and maybe another year in the weight room allows him a chance to be able to come in and be a better player. So we'll see. We will see. I mean, I think it's early. It hasn't been as formidable as I would have liked. That second unit, they were getting really worked by the second team. Defensive lineman for the Broncos, which isn't saying a lot. I mean, they were getting handled a little bit. So hopefully there's some change soon, and that team gels. But again, it's if they get to the assignments, right, and they know how to be able to work together, like you said, the working in unison will alleviate a lot of individual flaw. So there's some hope still.
And going back to Orange Crush here, and this is one actually I agree with. Nick Bonito seems to be having a good camp. It wasn't long ago we talked about how he maybe was going to get lost in the mix of camp, and I 100% agree. This was me 100% talking about Bonito. I didn't think he had what it takes to come out and even be noticed really within the other edges on this team. There were so many guys. I didn't see him going to be able to put on the weight, put on the dedication. I just didn't see it. And from what I've seen in camp, from clips, from when I was there, he is making the effort. He's putting in that effort, and on top of that, he seems stronger. He seems more well equipped, and he still has that bendability. So for me, that's a huge excitement for Bonito, because I was considering him a lost cause already, and that was a mistake on my part, really.
Yeah, he's looked great. He has made plays, and especially in team, he has had, on the 2 days last week that I was able to attend, a couple sacks and several pressures. Looked pretty good in the run game.
Sacks with Russell Wilson, yeah.
Yep, and so he's really being able to get that bend around, which I think he had some of that last year, but this year it feels different. I think it's the same. He in over his head a little bit, understands how the game goes. Got his his college coach to be the pass rush specialist this year. So I bet that there's some
difference.
comfortability, some additional coaching support. So he is there. I think also, Richie has asked a little bit about the defensive front. Matt Henningsen made some really nice plays. DJ Jones has been great. Jonathan Purcell has been pretty good. They really miss Mike Purcell, who should probably be back in a couple weeks. But Zach Allen, I want to talk about him for a second because that guy has been just outstanding.
The dude.
Impact player on every series. So it's not like he comes in and makes a couple splash plays before a game's over kind of thing. He is a consistent terror, whether it's batting down passes, whether it's stuff in the run, whether it's getting pressure, whether it's making a sack. He has been as advertised and then some. And I had said this on the radio with Gail Whiteley yesterday that not to diss Draymond Jones. Like wish Draymond would have stayed. Things didn't work out. Zach Allen has showed more in the 2 days that I have been at camp than I remember ever noticing Draymond Jones in a couple day training camp. So whatever that means, if it's a guy that is more versatile, can move around a little bit, he can play much more interior than I think Dre could, and so that gives you some more flexibility, especially with utilizing and getting your best front seven out there. So he's been great. He has been by far my positive surprise. I knew that he was a good player. I didn't know how good.
This was.
I think that that was the part, right? He would have a couple.
He'd all of a sudden have 3 sacks. He makes a huge stop. It changes the field of possession, and then you never see him the rest of the game. And you don't want to pay a guy off of basically just one series. I mean, that is just way too hard to pay someone off of. I'm glad he got his dues. He worked hard as a Bronco, but he was also injury prone at times often. I think it just worked out in the best way for the Broncos with Allen as well, like you were saying. Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Addition. Couple other players that I think are worth us taking note. Jonathan Cooper has looked really good. I've been excited about what he has brought, which has been phenomenal. Drew Sanders looks like a creative player.
Yeah.
That guy is he looks the part, and you might ask, like, what part does he look like? All of them.
Yeah,
he look like he could be an edge rusher. Yeah. Does he look like he'd be an inside linebacker? Yeah, like a ridiculous one. It'd be like a stand-up
robber kind of player.
Yeah. And wheels to boot. I think that there's a little bit of hit for him to still gather with playing in the professional game. But that guy he's that boy nice. So that's been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And then going to some of the college free agents. So I know Jolene had asked.
Let's get her.
How many UDFAs do we think Payton will keep on the 53? She believes that there would be 2 or 3 have big chances to remain on the squad. So one that you and I both noticed that carried on to the next day was Jaleel McLaughlin. That guy was a consistent threat, like deep run, long run after long run, which I'm really just excited about because what's different. Tony Jones, Samaje Perine, and Javonte are all 220. They're all the same kind of guy, size. They're going to run over people. Tyler Batty and Jaleel McLaughlin are your other kind of back, right? You're under 200 pound, more scat guy. Not really going to hold up in pass pro, but can provide you with a little bit more wiggle, that kind of stuff. And
that second name right there, by the way.
Yeah, and so
was that what you're thinking for your second name, by the way?
McLaughlin was great. He showed out in both days.
Yes. By the way, the way I feel about him, like you were saying, the other running backs are totally different than him, and that's where again I rest in peace, but I kind of feel like he's kind of the Ronnie Hillman kind of piece, where all of a sudden you can bring him in there and he'll just he may have a few plays where he'll get stuffed. but all of a sudden he's going to take a play for 50 yards and change how the dynamic of an entire series will go. So I agree with what Jolene is saying here. I also agree with who she's bringing in as the big, nose tackle, defensive tackle, whatever you want to call him. I think he's playing nose, who gets a little bit excited, hitting pads. I think you got two of the right names there. And on top of it, Richie has some other name with Benson from Iowa, who I think could make it the team on special teams alone. Do you? Special teams, at least the practice squad?
Practice squad, yeah. Practice squad and shuttle up, yeah. I think
I thought that's what he meant. I thought he flipped it for PS, meaning practice squad.
He'll. I think that he'll, because of the ability to play special teams, I think he's a guy that probably would be on practice squad and get shuttled up. I must defer. If they, it'd be really hard because they're going to carry. I think Henningsen is a lock. DJ Jones is a lock. Zach Allen's a lock. I think Purcell and Harris are. So could Mustafer be the sixth? I've heard some that they really like Elijah Garcia. Yeah. So and he looks the part. He's a 6'5", 302. Looks it, has had some opportunities since last year, being on the Rams practice squad, etc. So maybe that's a guy that they can coach up a little bit. I really like what Coach Dixon is able to do up front. So that part we'll see. I think Mustafer has a shot at minimum. I think he's a guy that can and should get some opportunities on the practice squad. And then,
again, throughout the year, there's so much going on. You never know when that will happen. I want to get to D-Rock here real quick, just because I haven't seen him before. So I want to say what's up to D-Rock. It looks like he has his jersey as Dangerous, which I really like. Actually, I'm able to do a customized one like that. The secondary will ground all passes for a few more seconds so the D-line can feast this season. I mean, I agree. When you have that ability where you're, again, it's one of those things. You need one end to either get to the passer fast, get to the quarterback faster, or you need your secondary to hold up faster or longer, excuse me. And I think that the Broncos have a good secondary that can go ahead and do that. So it depends how they use their safeties and how they want to. But I agree 100% with D-Rock here.
Yep, and there'll be a team that will bring pressure. That was evident even in the practices that we were there. Drew Sanders, I said it from the jump. I think he will be the most impactful rookie because of his versatility, and he provides something different. He's different than all the inside linebackers, kind of the same as Jaleel McLaughlin, right? Just his physicality is a little bit different. I think another guy, Taylor Grimes, has been the human slot machine. So he is your token lunch pail, coach's kid, if you know what I'm getting at, slot receiver, 5'10" and $188 out of your favorite school, John, Incarnate Word.
Yes,
which is a phenomenal football program. We all love it there. That guy has been he's been consistent, been able to separate, has been able to really create space, and I haven't seen the ball hit the ground. And so I think he's a guy that could, because I don't think that they have that true slot receiver. I think they have guys that can play in the slot. I think that he is a guy that can work the slot. I think that's a little bit different. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, I think are more comfortable on the outside. I think Mims is more on the outside. They can be moved. And I think he's a guy that can work the slot. So that to me is exciting. I think he's a player to watch. That is for sure. And I do think Demontre Jacobs, he was a guy that I really liked coming out of school with South Florida, against 6'6", 315, a really big and long offensive lineman. I think as things dwindle down, they're going to have to take their swing at a potential, project, especially outside. I think you always got to have one of those toolsy guys. So that would be a guy that I think I would like to see at minimum make the practice squad and hopefully get an opportunity to shine.
I really want to get to, just real quick, I know we're pressed on time here, but want to get to Richie's question here. We don't want DBs to be the reason. You want the defensive line to be the reason. Then the DBs just look better. I do agree with one reason. I remember this was an attempt years ago by Mike Shanahan. He had that goal of Dre Bly, And Champ Bailey, let's shut it down and have the defensive line. You have extra time to get there, and it just never led to success. Now, don't get me wrong, John Engelberg was not a kind of defensive end you could really trust to get to the quarterback anyway at any point. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where you do need a mixture of all three of those phases coming together in order to be successful and get to the quarterback. And so I do agree that the defensive backs, they can't hold the whole entire time. They can't hold, a receiver for 5 seconds. That is just impossible for them to do.
Yep. In the end, a good pass rush, I think, is more necessary than good coverage, because I think a good throw can beat good coverage. Yeah. It's really hard to make a really good throw when you have consistent pass rush.
But there's a reason why, the edges and the cornerbacks are paid top dollar.
And now defensive pass rushers, right? I mean, look at Zach Allen and Draymond Jones. They get a pretty penny for making quarterbacks uncomfortable. And I've said this for a long time. I'd rather have good interior pass rush than guys on the edge, because you can step up. If you are in a quarterback's face, it is impossible to look past them and zone them out and all that stuff. You can do it on the throw.
Then you have to go outside in the edges.
Yeah, or you're looking at the wrong thing, or you get caught looking down, and your throws will suffer. Then you just need guys that can contain you. You don't need pass rushers that will get there quickly or collapse the pocket. You need guys that can really get pushed. So that part is the one I'm concerned about. I think Zach Allen, I feel really good about as an interior pass rusher. The rest of the guys, maybe. I think they're all pretty good run defenders, like solid rotational players. I don't know if I feel really good about interior pass rush. That said, Randy Gregory has looked phenomenal.
Yes, he has.
That guy, if you ever seen Randy Gregory in person, he doesn't look like a person. He looks like he was crafted in a Build-A-Player lab. And, if he can stay healthy, I expect big things. That's a huge if. I get it. But they do have some guys outside that can really get it. So maybe your plan is, you bring interior pressure with guys like Drew Sanders and Josie, who I think has been a really smart, timely blitzer. Alex Singleton as well. They can bring those guys, shoot those, as well as K'Wan Williams through some corner stuff. So I think that they'll really dress up some pressure quite a bit to really help out. But if they can get guys like Frank Clark and Randy Gregory to push outside, I think this defense has a chance to be really good. And I think there'll be more turnovers, probably more big plays. I think it's really hard to have one without the other. But in my opinion, I think you make that trade a little bit, as long as it's not too much in that direction. We want it to be a team that has gotten more of those, make teams worried about throwing the ball late or those kind of things. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a good mesh. I don't think the team is heavily weighted too much in one area. Secondary is really good, which I think allows you to play a little bit more aggressive up front, a little more gambles, which if that's the case, I think, if you're a defensive player, you like it a little bit, right? Yeah. Like, oh, I'm going to go, we're fire dogging this bet. Let's go.
Exactly.
Did you feel good about it?
Yeah. So it seems like kind of naturally wrapped up here. Anything else that you have to say as we get out here?
I think the only part we'll look at is really how's the offensive receiver room look like.
Yeah, let's look at that real quick.
Marquez Callaway is a guy that I think Broncos country doesn't understand how good he has been before. Mm-hmm. So he's been a player that has been and has had some really good success. In 2019, 30 catches for 635, 21 yards reception, which is pretty significant, 6 touchdowns. And then, the guy that I think has been a really good return specialist, especially in college at Tennessee, 6'1", 205, ran a 4.55. So a guy with some good speed and familiarity with the offense. So give him a chance. And then again, Brandon Johnson and Jalen Virgil have looked pretty good. Taylor Grimes again has looked great. And then Marvin Mims, as he's really started to progress, you can tell the physical difference in what he provides. So I think that is a guy that can and will get pushed into that role. I predicted that he was going to be a much more impactful guy as the season goes on, but probably going to be a guy that will get some look early. Brandon Johnson, I think he will make the team if I were to guess. Him, especially because he's a guy that will and can play special teams. So
I've heard he's also like to your points earlier. You've been talking about coachability very often in what we've throughout our time here on Orange and Brew, and I think Brandon Johnson has been a guy who has been very coachable, and that's a huge step, I think, for what Sean Payton wants. I don't want to have to tell you once. I mean, I don't mind having to coach you once. What I mind is having to tell you the third time, and as we're making mistakes, and you're causing me a rep and losing, Russell Wilson a rep. You're losing your corners a rep. I think that's where Brandon Johnson is the guy who doesn't make those second and third mistakes, where he can earn that kind of position because of that.
Yeah. And like Jolene said,
but look, we got everybody, with a different person. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Brandon Johnson's a guy that's 6'2", a little light, but a guy that I think can make, can make all the catches. Jalen Virgil is a speedster, 6'1", 210.
Can't coach.
Both of them are fairly young guys who I think still have some upside. So the problem being is that was the plan last year, and they weren't really prepared for that, for the veteran experience, for the lack of leadership that Tim Patrick provides, the desire and guts to go do all of it. I hope a year removed from that, especially Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton learned what needed to be done and filled. That's the part that worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Sean Payton will scheme guys open. Will that locker room be as professional as it needs to be? That will be the question.
That'll need to be seen. And it's one of those things where, again, with the practice squad and having more young guys on these rosters, you kind of have to hope that you have that leadership role, and Sutton can take that role, and Jeudy can step up and really lead that wide receiver room in order to not have it, have those mistakes made that, you can be coached upon. And we got Orange Crush here making his little push, little Jordan Humphreys. He's a Longhorn. That's my argument. Horns down.
He's also again.
I'm kidding, Crush. I'm kidding.
He is a ginormous receiver, right? 6'4", 225. He will go dig out a safety. That is for sure. They got a whole bunch of 25-year-olds that
what's going on, Ty?
That will I think make a push for this roster. And the question for them will be, is that, do they feel good about their top 3 or 4?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting question to answer. And if not, there's not many options, I feel, for the Broncos to solve that question, really. I don't want to trade away picks. I don't feel like there's a name out there where you're just going excited for. So, yeah, I think that would be a bad situation to be in if they didn't feel comfortable.
Yep.
All right. I think we've kind of gone through this whole entire thing. We appreciate everybody. And, Doc, why don't you take us out here?
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining, especially in the combo. It's always a good time. Take care of yourself, as always, and go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Shelby Harris, don't go to the Browns. We'll kill you.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been